Okay, let's do the right of way issues, and then looks like we have some members of the public here.
Okay, I have 3 right-of-way contracts along 45th East to present to you.
Okay.
Parcel 187, 179, and Parcel 71.
Temporary easement, huh?
Are any of these the ones that we thought might be hard to get?
No,
Yeah, we're still
these are
working
still
on
part
those.
of the easy ones, yeah.
Okay.
I did have one of the other ones that we had been unsure about. They have signed, and they're in the process of getting that back to John Hill and he'll get it to me. That's the one that switched owners midstream. I think there's only one signature needed on all of those. I think it's just.
Legal.
Boy. Yeah. Legal.
Okay.
Oops, sorry.
Anything else that we need immediately? Or? Okay, I'm guessing this is about Eagle Pass and Kepps Crossing. Looking at the nature of the company here. So I don't know if you have a spokesperson, or I've talked to a couple of you on the phone. I think Brian has too.
Yeah.
We just want to know more about it.
Okay.
We've been kept kind of in the dark.
We've tried to explain it to those who have called, but the road, I think it was Rod Gardner had called, and he says, "You're locking me out of my property." No, you'll still have the same access you have when the road is closed due to weather. We're not going to lock the gate until it's impassable. You know, the problem we've had on 3 or 4 roads is people go around the signs. We had one up on 115th North.
115th East.
115th East, which is a different direction where they, the last couple of years, they get in there when they're not supposed to, and it's cost us 60 to...
The 1 year was over $68,000 to repair the damage at the car.
To repair it. We just, you know.
What did they do to it?
They get in when the road is soft, or they go in when it's closed, and then they get stuck. And then they have to call the sheriff or somebody to pull them out.
How does that cost $60,000?
And this one they went around the gate before we opened it, because in the spring you have to wait till it dries down. You know, the area above Kepps isn't a problem because the wind farm put the fabric and everything, so that dries quicker. But if you've got any soft spots and you don't let it dry out and you get the traffic on, you know, it just goes to the bottom.
Now, is that on Eagles Pass? Is that what you're talking about right there?
No, this was
So
from,
which one?
this was
115th East was.
So is this on Kepps?
No,
Or is it
no,
further?
I'm just explaining Kepps is a little different.
Right,
But you get, you know, and then it becomes a safety issue, because I think it was suggested, you know, you used to let the snowmobiles park at the
Right.
bottom of Kepps.
yeah, cause I've got guys going up there every day. I'm the project manager for the wind farm.
Right.
So I got the 2 snowcats down there, so we're always going up there
Yeah, you can still
pretty much
access,
every day.
you still access it the same with any vehicle, or snowcats,
Okay,
snowmobiles, any any tracked vehicle
right.
can get up in there because that spreads it out.
Okay, now, I know that there was talk that possibly that property south of the grain bins right there on Eagles Pass, and that belongs, I think, to Doyle, Judy. And that was possibly gonna be pastured this year, I don't know, but if they do that, then that's gonna, because a lot of people go across that property on snowmobiles. Well, if that's pastured and it's got fencing on it, that's gonna lock everybody out.
Yeah.
So,
The other problem is they come in there and they park on the road and block it up and people can't
well,
get back
I
out.
mean, that's not so much, because we went in and put a bunch of gravel in there here several years ago. And this is Cheryl, so she knew, and her husband, Steve, knew what we did. So that kind of, we made that out because that was kind of a mud hole of a wreck right in there. And then, Ken Judy also has his cows in there. So we went ahead and made a bunch of improvements to make it more accessible, because I know that a lot of snowmobiles do park in there, which we're not gonna stop those. I mean, that's part of the recreational area that's available for that as well. So it's kind of a win-win for us. But if you're gonna lock that gate up, then, and if that's pastured, you're gonna completely lock everybody from getting access to get in there to that road. If that's the intent, I don't know, I'm just,
It's not right now.
Yeah, otherwise we've got to trespass on somebody else's
Right.
ground to even get back on the road. I
So
talked
the
to
gates,
Judy's this morning, Doyle Judy's kids,
yeah,
and they aren't that excited about having everybody come across their ground because everybody's gonna go around that gate one way or the other. Or we're gonna have to build a jump and jump the dang gate
With the snow machine, they will.
with a snow machine or a tracked vehicle.
so
Or
the
snowcat.
gates are made to be so that we have a 32-foot opening.
what's
And
that?
with the width of the posts themselves, they're
32
still
foot.
prescriptive right away on the outside for a snowmobile to still should be able to get around.
Cause you've got a 60-foot prescriptive up there,
50-foot
50
prescriptive.
foot.
So it's
you've got
25
about-
for the center line.
Yeah, you got about 10 feet on each side.
Well, there's a fence right up to this, on the road, right up to it.
Sure.
On the one side,
Not,
there
not to the road
is.
surface,
Jared
right
Hughes.
up to the gate. Right up to the gate.
On
Right by the
the,
post.
on the one side there is.
There shouldn't be if the fence is in the right of way.
Well, and that's,
There is convenience.
Roger,
Uh-huh.
this is a-
I want to go back just a second, when you said that, somebody goes past your gates, they get up there, they get stuck, and they call the sheriff. Why is it your responsibility as a sheriff department to go get them out? When I get stuck, I get out myself.
I think there's a few years we've had to go plow your cows out.
Yeah,
So
there
you
is.
Get them in
But I'm
time.
talking about individual.
Individuals, it's a public safety thing. I mean, you can't leave somebody stranded up there if there's a call. I mean, you know, we've talked to the sheriff about it. And he can charge them,
There's
but he
Eagle Pass.
hasn't.
So where's the gate? Where are we talking?
The gate is approximately right here.
And it's even worse on Kepps Crossing, because there's not hardly room to pull off the road.
Yeah.
There's no access.
There's no place to park. And they're on both sides of that road.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't have a snowmobile parking lot there. You don't see it. We tried that once, tried to get something up by Blaine's house, to have a parking, to keep it open up there when we were talking about the wind farm people. Doesn't work, because then the problem you got is people get back in there with, wheeled vehicles, and going up Kepps is a real safety hazard, because, you know, on that side it ices over, and it's a little bit steep off that side.
So I'm a little confused. I thought the gate was at the bottom of Kepps.
Oh, no.
Well, there's one at Eagle Pass and one at Kepps.
Oh, you've got them at both
Yes.
places.
Well, I haven't been up there since they put them, so I haven't seen them.
Yeah, they're locked open right now because Mother Nature hasn't made it so that it's a safety hazard.
Roger,
We
Uh-huh.
fixed it.
basically, we do not want that road closed ever.
Uh,
I mean, we have to have access.
And we can't
Whether it's
maintain it.
snowmobiles, whether it's
Yeah.
RVs, whether it's us as pickups, whatever. The road will close itself eventually. And if people get stuck up there, that's their responsibility, it's not yours.
But it ends
Just
up-
don't put that
yeah.
thing across the road.
It ends up our responsibility. I'm real reluctant to take any of these type of actions, but too many people just drive around in a vehicle and they get stuck and cause
You
damage
don't
to
need
the
to go
roads.
get them out.
It's their responsibility.
I'm gonna disagree
There's a
with
whole
you there.
rotation of
Yeah.
tow truck drivers that would be happy to go in there and retrieve them. And they charge them.
Legally, I don't think you can close it.
Legally, we're not closing the road to travel, we're closing it to vehicle travel. And you can travel on track.
No, just don't close it. You might as well go up there and take those things down and put them somewhere else. It's a waste of time and money to put them up.
Or go around it. The only thing I can do as far as, for me, we got the snowcats there. I don't wanna go, I can either, when you guys decide to close the gate, and I assume that's dependent on probably snowfall, right? So what if it melts, and then, because that's probably gonna happen again this year, where sometimes we haven't had to, once it does snow, and then we get a lot of snow, then, like in January, there's been a time that sometimes it'll melt, we can then drive up there, but, we got a $200,000 snowcat, and I'm not gonna tear it up, but running down the dirt, but sometimes I have to. But, just like with what Boyd, don't close it ever, I mean, that's, that there's an option, just leave it open. But I have had several occasions when I'm up there in a snowcat and people are stuck out there. Sometimes I've called the Bonneville, Sheriff's Department and said, hey, there's a person stranded out here, what do you want me to do? Leave them there, pull them out? But if I grab onto their bumper, rip it off, I'm not, and that's what I say, sometimes I said, no, I'm not gonna do it. Because I've got the capability to pull them out if I want to. But most of the time I'll call the Sheriff's Department, let them decide what they wanna do.
And the sheriff's, office will respond to
Right,
calls.
and I think they have.
Because they can't distinguish, until they get up there and see if there's something. We've had the discussion with the sheriff, and you guys would be willing to meet with him, welcome to meet with him if you want, about not responding. I don't think he's gonna do that. Because he gets a call any place in the county, he's gonna respond till he sees what the situation. It's a life safety issue. Fire away.
What about placing a sign on it, not locking it, but placing a sign that says landowners only, others will be fined if they take their vehicle through?
They run through it anyway. We tried that on 115th North, and it was the landowners up there that had another way around that caused a big part of the damage. And also the wind farm people, I don't think that's part of your operation.
That's my operation.
That's your operation. The landowners are sitting there pointing to the wind farm people and tore the, because you know the situation on 115th and how bad that'd get. They said, well, the wind farm trucks are up there,
So that's why I showed up, just to listen to what you guys are doing, because we have gates on ours, and they
Right.
close that road, which really causes us a lot of extra response time, which equates to loss of production, trying to get to that other side, because my guys have to get around. I don't have a key to the gate, I can't get in there, so we're stuck to snow vehicles all winter long, and even into the spring. And so my guys have to drive 45 minutes around, so it's an hour and a half every day just to respond. That's a huge loss of production for us, and it was, we pay the county a lot of taxes, and that's just, it's an aspect which it's already one and done on our side of things. But I just wanted to see how this process goes, but it does cost us a lot of pain in the neck, because they have to drive all the way back down and around just to get on those other wind turbines.
And as
And I understand why you closed it.
Yeah, because as I recall the hearings on the new farm, that's the only access we could get, because we can't afford to keep those, roads open. And if you guys get in and plow them, then we get a liability, Road and Bridge does.
I read now, I've got a fully functional house that's right down in there that's 2 miles in, it's not very far in. I have the heat running all year long, we're in and out of there 3 times a week, plus, you know, our youngest son is graduating and moving away, and we're planning on being in there more. Cause I gotta go in and check on it, we've got cameras and stuff in there that tell us if there's motion or somebody moving around or something wrong, we gotta be able to get there quick. And we've always spent Christmas in there, cause you know, there's been maybe 6 inches of fluff snow on the road, it's easy to drive in and out of there. And we always knew we were taking on some responsibility, but I don't expect the county to come dig me out. I have tractors in there and stuff that can get us out and different things like that.
Well,
I don't want to be babied in the whole thing, but I don't want to be locked out.
Yeah, excuse me for.
They're not shy about my taxes. They can charge taxes all year round up in there.
So-
They're charging me as much for that house as if it was in the valley.
My understanding is the gate wouldn't be locked until that road was impassable. Is that correct? So if there's 6 inches of snow at Christmas time, it
Whose
shouldn't be
definition of
locked.
impassable is it?
Right.
That is based on Road and Bridge definition of going out there and seeing what the road condition is.
Because I wouldn't want it locked if it's still passable.
It's not
Well,
going to be locked if it's passable up until the point that it isn't.
Okay, so if we've got 2 gates there, because you've got basically 2 different climates up there, bottom of Kepps and above Kepps.
Well, we have 1 gate off of Kepps Crossing there at Bone Road and another one at Eagle Pass. There is no other gate up beyond there.
They're both at the bottom.
They're both at the bottom. And
Okay, you
Kepps
said Kepps.
Crossing is, I mean, that canyon, we're trying to keep people out of that canyon to get down towards where it hooks up with Eagle Pass. And Eagle Pass, if you let them in that way, if somebody gets back there around the same way, it's the same safety hazard.
They used to plow the road down to the bridge though too. And there's a pretty good spot for a parking lot down in there, right across from my driveway.
I think that's on BLM property.
Well, that means nobody owns it then.
What? You might have a different opinion about BLM and the restrictions.
They won't let you put a little parking lot on that? Because right now it's just a
It's a mud hole right now.
mud hole or,
Yeah,
Which the kids love.
and we tried to make that part of the snowmobile trail system, but, you know, we're in it, that problem, you don't have enough parking unless you get up on top of Kepps, because that's where it gets bad, but then you've got to go up Kepps. You know, we talked to Simmons's about doing one right there, you know, but as you go between the top of Kepps and Blaine's house, you know, you'll have sometimes 6 or 8 inch different snow depth at elevation.
I prefer that they paved that road down to my driveway. That would be a lot better.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem, because I remember Dwayne and those guys, when we went and improved the safety down in Kepps Canyon, it was quite a big project. So the problem is you get people in the Kepps Canyon before it's dried down. You know, your point that, yeah, you can get up there in January or something, well, the road isn't dried, and that's when you get your damage.
Where's the second gate?
Out by Gary Simmons's, I'm guessing.
But on the Kepps Crossing Road, these guys can't even pull off the road.
There isn't room to park there.
That's what I'm wondering where that gate is at
And
the
they have
bottom.
fences
of
both sides, right up against
So
it.
there's 1 gate here at Eagle
Okay.
Pass,
Okay.
right off Bone Road. And this is where Kepps Crossing comes out, and there's another gate here.
It stays
it's,
open a little longer.
It's right off of Bone Road, because there's no really other good way to turn around once you get back in there.
Is there any option to give landowners or people with vested interest keys to that gate? Has that already been discussed, or is that too You don't want keys floating out.
We don't want a key to it, we don't want it closed.
Mine's aren't.
Roger,
Be reasonable.
you gotta have a key,
You what?
at least.
Do you think you have more problems in the wintertime or in the springtime?
Both. I mean, once it's impassable, there are some landowners who have a,
There's more vandalism and stuff in the springtime than any time.
yeah, and vandalism isn't the reason we close the gate, because people are gonna have access up there anyway. You know, it's for preservation of the road and safety of those that go in. It's a whole different story than it was 20 years ago. You know, when we go up, I was talking to Kim Ryan the other day, you know, we used to love to get on our trials bikes and head any place. And it wasn't causing the damage, but then you start getting four-wheelers and everybody had one, so they started tearing things up, and eventually the Forest Service closed all the trails. I hated it, you know, but in case you haven't noticed, there's a lot more people in the county than there was 20 years ago. And a lot of them aren't familiar with our way of life, and they'll just go in there and tear it up. They don't care. And that's causing us problems. I mean, we're having a real struggle keeping up with the maintenance of the roads we've got now because of the cost of fuel. You're all experiencing that. You know, and the tightness of the road and bridge budget, and we don't charge property taxes for road and bridge budgets. You pay property taxes for other things. It's funded by the gas tax, so it's a use tax, and it only goes so far.
On that Eagle Pass, you did have just a sign that said the road's closed. What did people do?
They knock the sign down or pull around
They
it.
went around it. What are they gonna do with your gate? They're gonna go around it.
If they can find a way around the gate through the right of way. I mean, if you're the landowner there, you know, your fence is supposed to be out of the right of way. And so there should be a space between there.
Well, the right of way, if you're talking in the right of way, there's a big bank right where they put it. So even on a snow machine, if you're gonna try to stay in that right of way, unless one of us gets in there and digs it out,
What about that
you're
one?
gonna be tipping right into that gate.
So-
Then you've got a county liability.
There is a bank right
Hits that
there
thing,
at the gate,
going full speed.
but if you're gonna use a snowmobile, you're probably gonna get off slightly before the gate, not right at the gate, so you're not gonna go like this. You're gonna have a more gradual way out and around, and there is within that right of way at the top of the bank, there's enough room for a snowmobile to get by.
What about a snow cab?
Snowcat is probably a
You have
different
razors and
question.
tracks and everything else.
Yeah.
So the only way they can get around is
Buy a
being the
truck.
be on the private property.
Most likely with a snowcat, yeah.
I mean, I will tear up that land when I'm on.
If there's
on,
enough snow, you won't.
Judy's land. It's gonna happen.
If there's enough snow, there won't.
Tracks are about that, got steel tracks on it, and not turn it, it's gonna tear it up. I can't help that. We have to get in to do our maintenance on the turbines. That goes year round. We never maintaining the turbines. So, I mean, it is what it is. If you guys put the gate up, there's gonna be repercussions to that, and I can't not continue not doing the maintenance on the turbines, so, I mean, we'll just let it fall as, we'll just let it go and happen. If you guys wanna keep the gate up, then these landowners here will either have to go around it, and that'll force me to go around it. So, what do y'all think?
Are we gonna gate off Bone Road and all of those? Taylor Mountain, same way? There's roads all over the place.
There's, years ago, there's already one gate that we closed going up Waters because we had the same situation.
Roger,
So
you
we
need to
closed
speak
that.
up.
Oh, years ago, we've got one that comes out of the canyon up there going on to Waters that we put a gate because of the same situation. Every year they'd tear the road up. You'd have to go put it clear back together. You know, the Only other way to do that is put, pit run and bring it up to
And not a drop of gravel on Waters Road,
I know,
which would be.
that was the
a whole
choice.
situation.
Yeah, if they had it gravelled, but then, we have the landowners up there. There's a potato operation there that want us to pave the road right to there. And you've got to get it to a standard so they can still access it and not tear the road up. The problem is the convenience thing. I know that's an issue for them, but when they build that around, they've got sellers on, what's the other road up there? The other end of 115. And it was just quicker and easier for them to drive and cut across regardless of what it did to the road. And we worked with that for probably 4 or 5 years and had to keep putting the road back together. We just can't do it anymore. That was 115th. This is a similar situation. And the problem is too many people just buy out, they say road closed. I got a hunch, without raise of hands, how many of you have gone around that with a tracked vehicle when it was, with a pickup when it was closed? That causes damage, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, I regret that I didn't understand where those gates were. I thought we were at the bottom of the dugway. I thought we were right there, by the creek. I thought that's where we were closing it to prevent any traffic from there up. This is a lot of area locked out.
The safety issue happens much before the bottom of the canyon. As you're coming around here, as you start down into the canyon, this is where some of that safety concern is. And there's no good way to turn around vehicles or have a parking lot anywhere through this area, really, because it's all private ground.
So have we had, because I know is what really prompted this was the damage that we were getting on 115, right?
That prompted on 115th, but the safety concerns with what we've had people getting back in here and getting stuck and having to call the sheriff and getting our people in danger in storms too, which has happened. We had one a couple of years ago that was back on Kepps Crossing. He was diabetic. He had a young mother and a young child with him, and they got back in there and got stuck, and they were stuck for almost 8 hours. And we had to go back in with a road grader to try to get them out because they were back in there quite a way.
I don't know. I mean, I have a problem locking these landowners out of their property. I wish we could give them a key to the gate and put them on their own. I mean, none of them are gonna call the sheriff to ask to be pulled out. I'm confident of that. It's the weekender up there goofing around, being somewhere where he shouldn't be.
And
That's the
what
people
really
we're trying to keep out.
prevent.
That's exactly right. So I wish we could find a way to accomplish that.
That's any road,
I'm not sure of how to do that.
any of the county roads that get snowed in and somebody gets stuck, are we responsible for?
Yeah, it's just
Everybody.
the recreation and the weekender guys, I mean, they're heading up there in your country a lot, that's the area that's caused this problem. The other roads haven't.
But they should have some sense in it. If you call the tow truck towing company and it costs them $600 to get them towed out of there, that would stick in your mind pretty good.
The first thing the tow company will do is they'll call Road and Bridge and ask them to plow the road in there so they can get in and pull them out.
I got a snowcat that'll pull anything out.
They're talking to somebody who
I
knows
wouldn't
a
mind
lot
buying a
about towing.
snowcat just for off-road recoveries.
I'm just telling you the facts of what will happen to the county.
Yeah, I also talked to Sheriff Sam Holtz, and he was not in favor of locking the gates up. I thought maybe he'd be here this morning. He said he would come and talk to you guys, and he said at the very bare minimum, we should all have keys to that gate. And so the sheriff is not in favor.
We have not heard that.
I had not heard that. In fact, I've heard the opposite
Yeah,
from the
so have
deputies
I.
up
I
there.
talked to Roger, and Roger told me that he thought the sheriff was in favor. I called, got ahold of Sam.
That's what we had been told.
That's what we had been told. by them. We're gonna have to talk to Sam if he's
And he
telling
said
me a
it was not
different
him
story.
pushing for it. He says, I think you should all have keys or what, or.
Yeah.
Is that a possibility, to have them have a key and be able to get in there?
Okay, there's two gates, right? Okay, the gate on Kepps, I would say keep it permanently locked. That would be the one over, the one that goes down in the bottom. Now, the one on Eagles Pass, you guys go up Eagles Pass in the winter, Lloyd,
Well, we parked there by Gary Simmons's place.
Gary?
That's it.
I mean, and
So
you can't
that's
even
the
get
kids.
in if you
I know.
close that gate. We parked there, we
you?
used
By Gary's?
RVs from there, we used snowmobiles from there.
You,
You can't even get, if they shut that gate, you can't even
you
get
ever
there.
park over there by, on, what would be where the grain bins are?
You know, by Gary's green.
Yeah, by Gary's grain bins, I mean, that's
Well,
where,
right by that ledge.
yeah, that's where we got our snowcats at, but, I mean, I don't,
No, he's clear over on Simmons,
He's on the other road.
He's on the other road.
you're over there on,
rather
by
than
Gary's
driving.
place.
All of these guys come in off.
I think the
That's
problem
the
with
road
handing
we
out
use.
keys
We use the Kepps
is
crossing
the
road.
responsibility of who opened it
In my own
last,
house,
we use the
who's
Kepps
gonna
crossing.
close it back,
We had
and what if it's
generally
left
A
open?
lot smoother.
Who's liable
They're
for
not
it? It's the
reach
same
that.
liability then.
Eagle
The
Pass.
county
gets
is
most of the
still,
traffic.
well, the gate was
We do
open,
not get all that
and
traffic.
it's like, well, we didn't open
And
it.
it's more red.
And if keys are out
Doesn't
there,
get blown
we
in
don't
out
have
there
that,
as bad as,
we don't know who opened it, we don't know when it was last
I see more
open, or
people
when it
get
was
stuck
last
right in
closed.
that spot there by Gary's place and I do over Eagles Pass. But they wanna get in on Eagles, but I think it's a little more passable in the winter time than what,
They
than
both
what
get,
Kepps
they
is.
both get wrong innovation.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And Kepps gets a lot of presentation.
oh yeah, yeah,
You
I
go
see
through
that.
them.
Place.
Well, when we're,
Part of the problem.
well, when we get, in the winter time, we're going,
If you put the-
snowcat use is only on Eagles Pass.
On his property.
And then we hit Kepps and going up that way, but,
As much as anything.
yeah, but when it turns nasty, then, you know, then we don't even go down Eagles Pass or go down Kepps, we just
I
hit Eagles
can't
Pass and
Yeah.
hop in the
That's what
snowcat, go
concerns
that
me,
way.
is, sounds
Lot
like
of
we've
muddy,
even blocked
mud,
that snow.
Cut on, but
By
Yeah,
putting
it's not
that
too
gate by the
bad,
bank.
but.
Well, but part of that is the fence probably in the right of way.
Solution to me was-
It probably isn't the right, so go up there and look at it, and with a snowmobile, I still think you can get around it. A snowcat on Eagle Pass is gonna be more difficult, but you're gonna be on that outside on the top of the edge, so maybe 4 foot or half of the track or something like that is gonna be out there.
Well, could they access it on the other road, off the Bone Road coming in? Could the snowcat come that
So we
way?
have.
Well, that's what so they can, because then they're going over private ground. So right there at Eagle Pass, is if you go down here, what he's saying is there's a bank on this side.
Yeah,
But if you come out right here and go right around and come back in, it's not a, again, you don't come up to it, turn 90 degrees, you go out and around. You
but to
don't
go
do
up
that.
on that bank and go around there on Judy's property.
Hardly. So with the right of way the way it is, we should have approximately 8 feet behind that post that's still prescriptive right of way. And so with the bank there, yeah, there is some room there. That's why I'm saying a snowmobile, you're good. A snowcat, you're probably gonna struggle a little bit.
But what about the other gate?
On the other gate,
They can't come in that way?
well,
Is
so.
it really not possible to have a parking spot on the BLM ground down there?
You'd have to get that permitted with BLM. We've gone around with them.
It's
already
tight
dug it
on the
out.
other
It's
side
there.
too.
Well,
There's a
they've
parking
dug it
lot
out.
there.
It is tight because
We
of fences.
can't provide a parking spot on BLM ground any more than we could, you know, up at the top and just say, Blaine,
I bet if we got
We're
one of the
gonna-
Kepps Creek guys, they would.
well, that, if you could. But you know, just like any private landowner, we can't say, okay, we're gonna let all the snow machines go park on your property. I mean, the ideal thing would be, okay, let's go out there and plow space in Judy's, field for everybody to park. Would that go over very well?
There's a fence
They're
right
already
here,
parking, you
and there's a
know,
fence right here.
See, and that's the problem.
and they're already parking, you know, because we gave the county permission to get around there by our vans. Well, they already park there and park in by the haystacks and that.
You could probably make a deal with the Judies to rent you a parking spot for.
Well, I know we've got, one that we.
That's about where we're parked on Kepps
So
Crossing.
if you, there's a fence right here,
There's always people.
and there's a fence right here.
Always.
They unload their RVs right there.
Yeah, there's right there's a fence, and right there's a fence. There's a little bit more room on this side. There's a little bit less room on this side.
We need to be able to get in, we put cattle in that pasture right there, we need to be able to get to them. Can't even get to them.
It's open range, it's not open range, it's a herd district that says year-round grazing.
We haven't got any in there now, but we will be putting some in there. So how do we get to them?
And where do you guys put them up? They're right there at the mouth of Kepps? Cause
This right here, this pasture right here, where these trees are.
Oh, you bought that from Gary?
We didn't buy it or rent it from him. We park right here, here's the gate, right here. There's where we go in, right there. And we're in there till sometimes end of December.
I have a picture here. This is at Kepps Crossing. So there's that right there, snowcat around, snowcat. Got a snowmobile, yes. So this is up.
If the last year you were in there longer, that was January, wasn't it?
New Year's Day.
New Year's Day when it moved them out of there last year. So we have to have access to that.
The road was passed aside, there
Road
is
was
a rock
passed
there.
until New Year's Day
And
last
that's why
year.
if you get enough
Other
snow,
years it's
you
not.
can probably get
We've been up
around
with
there.
your cattle before they got caught up there at Thanksgiving.
I tried to put gates across the cattle guard
And this is,
up by my house. You guys
this
wouldn't
is
let
still
me.
Kepps.
What's the difference?
Cause that's why there's a cattle guard, cause you can't gate
This
a
is
public
Kepps.
road.
So it swings out.
It's a public
But
road.
with
Right.
the
So
snow,
don't close the road.
there's still.
And leave the kid up there with diabetes, you know, you say, don't respond, what you gonna
Roger,
do with that?
don't close the road.
Okay, but then you were saying, just don't respond to them.
Right.
You've got it.
They're responsible if they.
Well,
You're not
so
responsible.
If
just
you
go
get
ahead
up there and
and
get hurt on a snowmobile or
just
anything else.
go ahead and let the 8-year-old kid die.
Send a helicopter in. I don't care how to get them out.
I know. You what? You what?
We were up snowmobiling one time, the guy came around and hit a rock, and they lighted him out.
You can't be the safety police for everybody, because that's why we're there, we want to be able to get out the way.
The sheriff has an obligation to respond to a call, however he gets in there.
But the sheriff they have a great big snow vehicle. He told me that they traded one off and got a different one, so they can drive in there in any condition, if they had to.
But we're gonna have to talk to the sheriff, because that's a different story than we were hearing from him up there.
Well, maybe they need to park that snowcat down there. They
What,
have
the sheriff?
access to get, I mean, if you guys wanna lock the gate, then,
Okay, then what are they gonna do, buy a snowcat for every
I don't know.
access?
Well, we didn't set the gate in,
No, I know.
so we need to propose a solution for this.
Well,
You know,
part of
always
this,
like saying, well, let's keep the gate open and then, but with Cheryl's idea about putting a big signage there to say, you know, when you're out going at a ski resort, what do they do there on the snow mountain? You're there on your own risk. Do you have a sign there that says, if you go out and when that gate's closed, you're at your own risk?
Checkbook is in danger.
So,
I'd be glad to buy a recovery vehicle and you can post my phone number on there.
And you'll be the one charging them $600.
That's right.
Well, that's the same deal when people get in a wreck out on the freeway and we have to send the tow truck out.
Yeah.
Is we're
See,
going.
that's where we're hearing a different story from the sheriff, because he said we have to go in there and respond. You know, because of the 8-year-old that has diabetes, you never know what the situation is, you know.
So are they able to respond 24/7? Sheriff's Department, I assume they will.
If they have the staffing available, because he's so short-staffed right now anyway.
Right.
I'm sure they would in an emergency situation.
I mean, there's been times I've been out there late at night because I had to respond, and I've seen people on that road, and I've had to get them out of there. So I've done it. Did I have to? No, but did I? I kinda had the idea that you said, well, you know, is your life insurance paid up?
No,
I've been seeing
that's not
probably
my
taxing it
idea.
up more than anything.
Yeah. So I took it upon myself to go ahead and, you know, go ahead
He can come down.
and tow them out, so I did, but.
We're gonna get the sheriff down here if he's here. And I'll be right back.
I've been seeing when it's wet and muddy, I mean, we've chained up and made all kinds of mess over the old dirt mud roads, Elk Creek and Skyline Ridge was that clay dirt.
Across from
It's the
you.
greasiest,
It's
the greasiest stuff in the world.
Well, you know, when he
Got
says
that
that,
much,
Well, it's not, it's nasty, but once they get past the wind farm, I mean, there's that road that goes past Dan Creek, that one there's pretty bad in the winter time, but.
Yeah, don't put any more windmills up there. Oh, it's my fault.
Okay,
no, he's gonna put one on
I'll put that in the memo.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need more.
Boyd, I'm trying.
We need more windmills.
get rid of all the diesel. You gotta have electric tractors.
Oh, gotta have electric tractors.
Big old battery, you sit in there.
They'll be dragging a,
Put a windmill right on top of it.
I'll be dragging a generator with you, right?
5% at home. You know that 95% of those electric cars are still on the road.
Take down the bank.
The other 5% are home.
Gotta use your credit card and charge them, is that what you do?
I would think so. It used to start out being free on his way, soon, see was down there. I really like my power bill on that hammer. It's 57 cents for electricity, you get charged $18.
Yeah.
And they don't even have to go read it anymore, that's right. It just
Comes up.
comes up.
I haven't talked to anybody that's in favor of this, any of the landowners, talked to Hawkins.
Oh, Hawkins is the
I talked to Dale, and you were talking to.
I talked to Stan twice, and don't make me do that.
So my wind farm, my wind farm has already been gated off, right? So Talbot's have all the ground on our wind farm. It does seem a bit unfair to lock that off to them because they don't have access. When that gate is closed, and I understand why we close it to preserve the road, and we're very thankful that the county maintains that road. I know that's a big cost, but it does seem very unfair to essentially lock the property owners out of their own property. We're talking like 7,000 acres of dry farm that they can't access.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one.
Okay.
It's not unfair on that road, because that's where we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to repair that road. Multiple springs, and we can't get people to stay off of that in the
I
spring.
totally understand that, but it does seem unfair to keep them out of it, where it's
Well,
their
then
ground
you,
battle borders it.
then you've got, Foster's up there saying it's the wind people that went in there.
Yeah, I never-
Well, and see, we can't prove it, so we
Yeah.
can't charge somebody to fix it.
Yeah.
We've got
I
another
think it's a
problem.
separate subject, but I'm just, as it applies to here, it does seem to cost
We've got
enough.
another problem there, and that's that the wind farms running that snowcat up and down that road every day all winter long packs that till it's just ice, and it's causing a delayed melt off of those roads in the spring by 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't
Which-
have any other choice to access those roads.
Well, yeah, we realize that, but that's what's causing the problem on that road.
Yeah, well, I would disagree with her a little there, but you know, because it just is, I'm just talking landowners, you know, because we have to access those wind turbines every day.
We've gotta protect the road. Now, if we're
Sure.
not getting road damage on this Kepps road,
We
then
have
honestly, I'm a little less
We
inclined.
have had road damage. It's not been as severe as 150, but we have had road damage.
So I was gonna say, it's a matter of degree, same problem, just different degree. And I remember getting called, from an appreciative landowner that has a cabin back in the bottom of Kepps, talking about how nice that road was. We spent a lot of money, to get it from Eagle Pass back up in there. You turn everybody loose in there, that's gone. We're not gonna spend the money again. Then you're right back to what you were before or worse.
I've never seen big ruts unless it was just a sloppy mud hole anyway, which
It's,
they've improved that whole road all the way to Skyline Ridge, and it's not like it used to be. It's an improved road, and it doesn't soften up because they've got a base in there.
Sheriff, we asked you to come down because we're getting a little bit of a conflict. You know, we thought that we were also helping your operation so that you didn't have to respond to weekenders up there getting stranded.
There's no question that when they go past the road closed signs in the wintertime or in those sloppy times of the year, they get stuck back in there. And we end up on recoveries up in some of this backcountry when that happens. I think the issue is this idea of locking private landowners out of there. I've never been supportive of that, nor would I be. The issue is that balance of how do you maintain the roads and the sloppiness, but I would assume that the private landowners would be responsible on those roadways and keep that general population out of there. I think that that's a reasonable position, but I have a problem if you stick a gate up and tell the landowner they can't access their land. I don't think that that's a reasonable position for us. And
it's not that they can't access it, they can't access it with a wheeled vehicle. They still have to do snow machine.
well, and I think it's always gonna be this balance of how do you best maintain the roadways and lose that, you know, that piece of whatever is. Obviously, if you get on those roads at certain times, you're gonna cause, you know, additional maintenance costs, that type of thing. But I think it's gotta be a balance of how do you provide the landowners with reasonable access, making sure the landowners are responsible to not rut up the road when it's that time of year where you're gonna make the ruts. But to me, a perfect middle road would be maybe some type of a keyed setup for the landowners that they could access if they needed to get back in there. I think the only one I've talked to about this is Mr. Enby, who called me, we had a little conversation, what's that, about 2-3 weeks ago? Yeah. And that's really my thought is, you know, how do we give the landowners access and still maintain the roadway? Without, and I think keeping the general, I think you would all agree, you don't necessarily want a bunch of people from down here in the valley coming up and tearing up those roads up there, because that's an issue for you. So I think what we gotta do is find a middle path here.
I was just curious what your thoughts are, because Boyd has suggested that we just open it up and everybody's at their own risk and you don't respond.
Well, that works good in theory, except when you get somebody who's yelling for help up there and they're, you know, our position is we're here to serve the people. And if somebody violates the road close sign and goes up in there and gets off the roadway, yeah, we can fine them, we can do all those things, but they're still gonna do damage. And the majority are gonna not go around the road close sign, but you always have a few that are gonna do that. And we have cited individuals up in there in these different areas when they violate the road close signs. But it puts a drain on our resources. So if we could have a hard gate where they can't, you know, just go up in there during those times of year, I think that's a good thing. If the landowners have keys, I think that that's a good thing. As long as we don't end up in a situation where the landowners are not respecting the issues related to the road that I heard you talking about, you know, maintaining those roads up in there. Those are my thoughts on maybe a middle of the road solution.
Could we not have a designated, recovery company that, so if you're stuck back in here?
Well, sure, but that doesn't get you out of the road damage that they cause, right? That's, I think, one of the issues is that doesn't get you out of the road damage. The other piece is, if we're gonna designate a company, you're gonna get a disagreement with other companies, and so.
So they qualify us all the time on heavy, medium, light.
Correct, we do have a
Okay,
rotation list.
are you capable of going backcountry recovery?
Yeah.
And so many companies would say, yeah,
We could certainly, we piggyback that state police list is what we've done, so that we didn't have to maintain all that. But we could certainly set it up an additional component on that rotation list, but again, that doesn't get you out of the roadway damage. When they get back in there and get stuck in the wrong time of year, and then you roll a wrecker back there to help with it.
Well,
creates problems.
it's not only that, Sheriff. I mean, if somebody calls 911 and they're stuck back there and their wife's in labor, you're not gonna tell them.
Or if they're just cold.
Or they're gonna freeze to death. You're not gonna tell them, we'll call the recovery company, we contract with them. You're gonna send somebody up.
We're gonna go up there, but the issue is, depending on what they have going on, sometimes we can yank them out with our backcountry vehicles, but sometimes we can't, and then we need a recovery.
But you're gonna send a guy up there.
but you're gonna take the people out. Just like if you're wrecked on the freeway, the people are gone when the tow truck shows up.
Maybe, yeah, depending on the situation, right? Yeah, sometimes if we can get a tow truck up there, because the problem with that is, then that, rather than just getting them unstuck, they gotta bring that vehicle all the way back down. And that's expensive, right? I mean, it's expensive for these folks. And granted, if they've gone around a road close sign, that's on them, right? And we do cite for that, but again, I think that what's brought us to this issue is the damage to the roadways, right? That's what the county's trying to avoid, is the damage to the roads.
But I like the idea of landowners having a key as well, but Road and Bridge's concern is, then what if the gate gets left open? Or you open it up, go in, leave it open because you're coming back in an hour and then 3 other people come behind you, it's difficult for the county. I mean, you take responsibility upon yourself to then manage that gate.
That's why I say, don't close it.
Well, you can see, Boyd, that we don't have a choice there.
Yeah,
I mean, somehow we've got to figure out how to close
we
it.
do have a choice, but this is the choice
Have a
we've made.
choice.
This is the choice we've made. We're trying to find a compromise in here. So, yes, we do have a choice. And based on all of the things that have happened today, this is our choice. Can we find ways to modify it? That's what we're trying to discover.
My thought is, with the private landowners, you all are very responsible as individuals of honoring fences and gates. You all have done that for years. This is not any different to me. You don't go through somebody's cattle gate and leave it open for an hour. You stop and reclose that gate, and then you reopen it when you come back through. I think, it's my personal belief that as individual citizens, you possess the ability to manage those gates and keep folks, to me, it's a plus. Because I know you have a huge problem with folks up in there by your property all the time, with partying and different things that we try to mitigate in the summer, right down there by your property. There's no question that you have this heavy presence up there, and the road closed signs aren't working, right? They'll just go around it. So the gates, to me, aren't a bad idea as long as the private landowners have access.
So let me ask you a question. Are we on legal ground to allow a landowner to drive in, it's a public road, and not allow somebody else? Could we get a legal challenge on
You
that?
certainly could get a legal challenge on any direction, and I'm not an attorney, so I would encourage us to talk to our attorney.
That's where I was going with this, is, that's something we could talk with legal counsel, because we've had situations with, brick mailboxes and right-of-ways that, in order to not have them removed, they sign a waiver of liability and an agreement. And would be happy to run that by legal counsel. You'd have to have some way to get a key where you guys, you'd be taking the liability for any of your own stuff if you got in there.
The county certainly has the ability to close any roadway.
Yeah.
You're within your legal.
But that's a possibility too, but then the problem is if somebody, listening to what Lance is saying, somebody leaves it open, doesn't close it, gives the key to a friend that lets all of their partiers go down to the bottom of Kepps, go up and hang out in your area, it'd be an all or nothing. If we can work out a compromise like that, If one of your neighbors doesn't keep that deal, you know, then we're back to right where we are right now. That's just a thought, that's not a decision yet. But we can check with that and come up with a waiver of liability. We had an issue up in Camora Loma where, the houses would put these brick mailboxes in, which caused a real safety hazard. We tried to get them not to do them. They just go ahead and do it and violate anyway. Somebody hits one of those and kills themselves. So we basically, got a deal. You either move the mailbox or sign this waiver of liability, which means you're liable if you let somebody in there. You know, cause if you hand a key to one of your friends cause they wanna go in there, party and they get hurt or killed, see, that's the question, then you're assuming some of that liability. And that should be an incentive for you not to hand those keys out to anybody other than the landowner.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you would be in control of those keys, and if something happened due to that access if you give your key to someone, they're acting as your agent, right? And they would assume any, potentially cause you liability if they did something that was not good. So you would have to decide how, as the individual landowners, you were gonna let somebody through there. I think the key point is to realize the road is closed, right, to the general public. And you would be granted that additional access because you are a property owner on the other side of that gate.
Once the gates go in, does it change later on? Oh, the fire danger is high, we need to shut the gates, or, it's muddy and it's hunting season, we need to shut the gates. Where does it stop?
Well,
This is just the beginning, the gates are there now.
Muddy and hunting
Somebody shuts them off.
season we've never closed those roads for that, cause that happens up there. What you're talking about is when we quit maintaining it, and I think we quit maintaining it on November 15th, no more maintenance. And then it's kind of proceed at your own risk. If you get stuck, you know, somebody's gotta go pull you out or call a tow truck. We've had this discussion with the sheriff about, you know, they go up there and they help people and then they don't charge them. They need to charge them.
Yeah, we have been charging them for anybody being on beyond the road closed sign, right?
The other option would be, like for the wind people, to get some type of an easement, just an access, because there is about half of the width of that according to Lance above, the ledge there, you know, for them to get the snow cats around, but then the public's gonna use it all the time too.
Well, here's something else that might come into play, is if I have a gearbox that goes out in the wintertime, which that hasn't happened yet, it will, or I'll have to go out there and change that, possibly change that gearbox out in the middle of winter. If that happens, then I gotta bring in a blade, you know, a gearbox on a semi. It hasn't happened yet, but I know it's going to. So if that happens, then I would definitely have to have access in there, and that would be on my expense to put all that out and redo the roads and that kind of thing to.
Yeah, that gets into a whole different area where you get in and clear the
Just kind of
road.
planning ahead,
Yeah,
thinking out loud.
that was addressed, when we gave permits for the wind farm up there. It's accessed by track vehicle only, cause we couldn't get in that situation. You know, especially with semi and stuff in there.
Right.
So there are limits, I mean, you can't, I think we'll let us talk to legal counsel and see if, we can come up with a waiver like that. If it's a possibility, we're willing to look at that, but you also need to be aware that if you take that key, you know, like Sam says, and don't take care of it, whoever you give it to becomes your agent and you would share the liability.
Well, like a key, I've got like a combination on my keys, cause I get BPA, Bonneville Power Association, they have access to get into my gates, to get into their, you know, the Cattle Creek switch yard, they have to get in there every month to do their inspections. I'm not there every week, so if I have an issue, I can always change my combination, and that's.
The problem with the combination is it's easier to get that than
Easily shared.
physical key.
Right, but if you have a key, then if you give it to, if somebody's, like what, access to a key, then they assume that responsibility, but as you and I know, there's not a lot of, there's some characters out there that are not responsible.
That's why I say, you know, we're hearing that the landowners are gonna be responsible. If they'll be responsible and take care of it, shouldn't be a problem. If not, you know, then it's just the progression of the times we're in, you know?
I firmly believe that, you know, our problems up there have not been with landowners. They just haven't been. You guys are invested there, you have concerns, a lot of the same concerns we have, which are people that come up there and vandalize things, do things they shouldn't, whether to the roadway or other property up there. I think having good solid gates is not a bad thing, when they're able to damage the roads up there. You brought up, could those gates be used at other times? Well, you know, we have gates on the interstates to shut them down for the stuff that we get up there in Osgood, the dust blowing through, things like that. We don't want to close those down, but occasionally there's an issue. It could happen. You could have something occur where we're like, we're gonna close the road. Right now, we do that all the time. Road bridge comes out and sets the barricades, the road is closed, right? This would just have a gate in place where we had to do swing the gate shut. But the landowners would have access appropriately, be able to get back into their property when needed. To me, that's the best of both worlds. You still have access back there, we're keeping the general population out, and we're protecting the infrastructure the best we can, going forward.
But some of you, and I can't remember because I've talked to several of you, said, well, you know, we go up there and the deputies will say, you know, they know you as a landowner. I think if you've done this, you are not gonna write you a ticket. You know, are you okay with that? I said, that's not my call. That's, yeah. I talk quietly anyway, but that's not my call. You know, the deputies have discretion who to write and who not to. Just the way if they pick you up going down Sunnyside, 100 miles an hour, like we saw you had to chase somebody, recently. They have the option of whether to give you a ticket or not. They still have that, but I can't tell you, the deputy's not gonna write you a ticket if you go up there. I don't think you would tell them.
Well, obviously, I think the biggest thing is we do give the deputies discretion because every situation is different, right? So they have to make a determination based on what they're seeing in a given situation. If somebody's acting in a way that is damaging, senselessly damaging property or putting lives at risk or things like that, obviously we're gonna deal with that. And we do every day. But in generally speaking, if a landowner is just trying to access their land back there, and take care of business, we're not there to do it either way.
Just for curiosity's sake, what is the cost savings, like for, you know, that extensive road rebuilding in the spring compared to what it has? What is that number? Is it a significant number that you guys will essentially, the taxpayer, I guess, will essentially save by putting it in, like what is that cost analysis?
Well, I mean, that depends on where you do it, because you know, you've got all those winter areas. This particular one, I think, was $68,000 this year. Before that, it was another cost, and that's why we put the road closed signs, and then everybody started violating it. That's why I'm wondering if we can't give a key to landowners, make you agents unto yourselves, you know, all or nothing. I mean, you either take care of it as a group, or if it violates and causes problems, you know, that's a compromise we tried to work out that would rescind that permit for everybody.
What did they do to cause $60,000 worth of damage? I mean, if I went up there and got stuck and made a big old rut in the middle of the road.
Bottom of the road drops out,
grader.
because those don't have the road base. And we worked with Bud Johnson there for 1 year because he offered to come in and pave that whole thing. You know, but the amount of work through that dugway up there was really expensive. See, now, speaking of the snowcats and packing that over, the Department of Lands, we're working out a deal to get an easement for the snowcats to go around so you don't have to go up the dugway and pack it down, and see if that makes a difference. But we had an issue out in Osgood on one when they got in there. And it was watering on the road or something. We spent a bunch of money and then they came in and watered the road and started ruining sections of it, you know. I don't like to tell farmers how to water their roads, but if they violate the law and it's causing a problem for everybody else, you know. Anyway, like, give us a chance to talk to legal counsel. We usually meet on Tuesdays. I don't think the road's gonna close before then. Looks like these are warm.
Sure, that's something.
Sure.
Well, I was gonna say, it's only logical to go through a gate, because if you go up around one time,
Everybody else
everyone
is.
else is gonna go up around.
And if you drive a wheeled vehicle in there, see, cause I'm still thinking that the access would be to track vehicles, cause as soon as you drive a wheeled vehicle in there, everybody's gonna see the tracks and then they're gonna go around. You know,
Well, I'm sure there's a certain point where the access just gets too sticky for you to take a wheel vehicle, right, certain times of the year.
Once the wind blows, that road closes.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I guess I would
Once it
like,
sets up.
I would like to make sure that that's acceptable to all of you, if we work this out, to be able to provide a key.
I think everybody here is responsible enough to take care of a key.
I do too.
They're not gonna hand it out to other people. And there's some others that are not here that I know of, like Kenton, Jared, Judy. Same thing, they would be very responsible. They're not gonna hand it out to anybody. Make the person responsible for it. Even if the sheriff had a list of the ones that have a key, and they find somebody that has a key that doesn't deserve one,
Well, and
take the key back.
that's another concern that I've got, is how far do you go on the road for the landowners? I mean, do you get one to Jess Croft, you know, clear up at the other end by Fall Creek, you know, it's all the same road. And so,
Consider them also.
I think anybody who's a landowner beyond that gate, they can argue that they have a reason to have access back there.
I think that's the point, that they have a reason to have access back there.
And then the big thing is I think, you know, you're gonna have to have a discussion about how many keys per family or per property. And you set that, and then the keys are marked do not duplicate, right? And then if you will just have to have a way, whether that's road and bridge that manages it, or if you want the sheriff's office to manage it, we already have key control systems that we're doing. We could have a list. I mean, inevitably, you do this long enough, somebody's gonna lose a key, something's gonna happen, and it'll have to be dealt with. So we're embarking on an adventure here together that's not gonna go away, right? Because you're gonna need that continued access through those gates, and something's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna lose a key, something's gonna occur. We may have to change the setup at some point if it gets compromised, right? Somebody's lost a key, and now somebody's out there using it, maybe we gotta change the lock. There might be a small nominal cost to the landowner to have the keys to reproduce, that type of thing. There's always control factors that have to be thought about. If you have any group that's given access where we're trying to limit access, and that never goes away. That's a constant auditing and maintaining.
The problem is if we do this on Kepps, what do we do about 115th?
I think, we'll have to have those discussions, right? What do you wanna do, and what do the landowners want? I think we have to balance it with the voices of the
I
landowners.
think just like the gates, it becomes a situation by situation. Because, you know, this doesn't have as much a risk of damaging the road and the history.
Well, that's my problem, is 115th's a different situation, because we've had year after year after year
But
of
if I had
damage.
someone call and say, hey, I need in that gate, can someone give me access? I don't even know if I have that. Well, that would be a nice thing for us, I'm talking these guys here.
Access for what
If I
reason?
need to get into that gate on that other side, when it's spring, it's all built off on that side, who do I call? Can I ask, can I have access through that, because I don't have a key for it.
Because, well, Road and Bridge will look at that, and as soon as it's past the point of being able to be damaged, it'll be open. If you call before then, it's probably not gonna let you on there with your trucks, service trucks.
It's always our goal to get those roads open and dry it out as fast as we can.
For sure, and you guys have done a good job with that, for sure. Is that stupid hill in the middle that causes trouble? I don't wanna get it derailed from
Yeah.
my issues and stick to these things.
No, but it's a valid point. I mean, how do you deal with the different ones?
Right.
You know, and it's been years since we put that one on blotters, but I mean, you know, blotters would, get to be a mess and it was costing us a bunch of money every year. And I think blotters have to get in those snow machines too.
But we stopped maintenance of the road just beyond, about where the water tank is at the top of Henry Creek Road now. We stopped plowing, we stopped doing anything on there. And that road becomes quickly deep enough that unless you have an over snow vehicle, you're not getting back there.
Anyway, give us a chance to work on that. And then,
That work? Okay, I have another meeting, gentlemen.
Thank you.
hey, well, Sam, I got one question for you.
I think so.
Sounds good.
We meet with him next Tuesday, so should have kind of some answers for you after Tuesday. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Is there anything else for Road and Bridge that we need?
Oh,
What about planning and zoning?
Is there electricity at those gates?
no,
How far is it?
a long ways for electricity for someone.
But like these ones, I'm saying, the ones on,
There's no electricity.
there's no
right
power
there.
lines up there?
There's probably power lines fairly close, but nothing that we have really connection to. I mean, there's some private stuff going to the homesteads and stuff, I imagine.
I mean, we could get power to that one on Eagles Pass. The other one, there's no,
Well, this one at Kepps is, I mean, there's probably power in the road, but I'm not sure.
somehow you could get power there. Why,
Well,
what do
I'm
you
just
say?
thinking, you're giving everybody a key, you're giving everybody a hard copy key. There's gotta be a way, if there's power there, that you could set it up just like the doors here or the gas pumps at the county, that you give everybody a fob, they're assigned to it, and you know who's going in and out of there. Then if you're having problems,
You know
you
who
know
it is.
who's the problem's coming from or where the key's coming from. I mean, if you're giving everybody keys, it's just, you're setting up a situation for all or nothing.
Well,
And the problem I
everybody
see with that, you get
Well, I
one
think-
person in there, well, it was him, and then they're all in uproar and everybody hates him. Whereas if you have a system set up so that you actually know who was going in and out of that gate, I don't know, I just think without that, it's a free-for-all.
Well, that's why it's all or nothing. I mean, you know, if they have somebody in there and they violate it, we can't be the detail.
Well, I was just saying, if you've got electricity up there that you could have at those gates, it probably wouldn't be that hard to set it up, just like the county buildings are set up. You give the property owner a fob, they scan it when they go in, that unlocks the gate or gives them access somehow, and then you know
Until
who's
there's a
in
problem
there.
with electricity.
Yeah, and that,
Yeah.
there is that portion of it, then you gotta go up and fix it and maintain it, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure what we're gonna do here. I mean, I didn't want to speak too freely with everybody in here, but honestly, I'm not comfortable with locking them out. I'm really not. I think the county's in error. I thought that gate was on Kepps. I didn't, on there by the Dugway. And that's my fault. I misunderstood where you had put. But I think it is wrong for us to lock them out. They've got cattle in there, they've got houses in there.
the houses, that isn't as much of a concern for me, cause most of those houses have been permitted as summer use only, right on their building
Oh, really?
permit, and
yeah.
I wasn't even gonna get into that with
Well, that
them,
makes
but when
me
we
feel better
permit
about
those,
that.
if they're winter maintenance only, or summer maintenance
Yeah.
only
There's like
roads,
troughs up there.
we specifically put on their permit, summer maintenance only, no winter access.
Well, okay. that
So,
goes.
their homes, they know, hey, the county's not gonna maintain these in the winter, there's a fair chance you're not getting in here unless you go on a tractor.
But as long as they've got cattle in there, they need to be able to get in there. They gotta be able to get in there.
And again, we're not trying to lock them out of getting access, it's just the vehicular access is what we're trying to prevent. And vehicular access is
I didn't
what we're,
want to say anything, but, you know, Gary Simmons is one that put the fences up there so tight. And then Boyd is his, lease he rented from. Well, that's not our problem. That's for, him to be able to work out an easement from Gary. You know, but then you are we gonna provide all the off-street parking? Because they're at the mouth of the Kepps Crossing Road. There's used to get where you couldn't even drive by that with all the trailers and snow machines.
and, yeah, there's not room for a parking lot, and we don't have a parking lot built there. And that's another reason why we put it where we did, is so that we don't have 15 or 20 vehicles trying to park there.
I think we've got to give them access with the key, but I'll tell you what, I'm afraid of what we're gonna hear from 115.
Yeah,
No problem.
Because
there, you'll do it there. I mean, it's,
when they say if they have a reason to go in, first thing you're gonna have is Dave Chapel here.
But the permit, for the key pretty much says, you know, tracked vehicles only.
So
but
those are,
that's not what these guys want. These guys don't want that.
But there's gonna be a compromise, to be able to do that,
Yeah.
you know.
And what I would, rather than hand all of them keys, if we're gonna do keys, I would look at a checkout procedure where they have to come either to road and bridge or sheriff and get that key to go use it as a one-time use, and then get out, because not all these people are gonna need to be in there every day. Maybe the windmill people, maybe they have their own key, but
I think that gets to be difficult too.
it's just, once you hand out the keys, you really do lose control, and even if it's a electronic system, so, well, you know, I let somebody else use it for a day.
Yeah, but that would still come back on them.
But then it turns
That's
into
the
a
only
legal
way
fight.
you have any accountability is what I'm saying. I'm not, if you're just giving out keys, who knows
If there's
who's
a
key
checkout
opened that
system.
gate?
Yeah, if there's a checkout system, and there's only 2 keys beyond road and bridge key,
No, you're fine.
you only have 2 possibilities. It's like, well, the key was checked out today to this person, and here's their phone number.
Okay, well, what if Boyd comes in, wants the key, and Empty wants the key, and somebody else does the same day?
And if it's the same day, it's like you call Boyd Empty, or you call, I mean, they all know each other. It's obvious they know each other. He's got the key. It does, it gets very cumbersome.
Because you can tell, Judy's didn't want to give an easement for people to go around there,
Yeah.
you know. And the other side that they could get around, they put the gate up, or the fence
The
up,
fence up to it.
you know. And the only other solution of providing around the gate is have them move their fence, because it's in the right of way.
Yeah.
They're probably not gonna be happy about that.
No, they're not.
But I say if they violate it, come one, come all, stay out, stay all. You know?
So, yeah, well, and unfortunately, in the first year, it will happen. Somebody will either lose the key or loan it to somebody that's not responsible, or something will happen in the first year.
Well, if you lose the key, you know, like Sam said, there'd be a nominal charge. In this case, if you lose the key and have to change the lock, you're the one that lost the key, so we have to change the lock. You pay for however many keys we have to, new keys we have to with a new lock and a new lock. And get it all in agreement.
I'll also do maybe just a little bit of research. I know that there are some smart locks that don't require electricity, that have specific keys, and they can log memory about which key was used, I think.
I just think it would be nice to know,
Yeah.
because if you had a system that you could know who the culprit was, then you can have something in that agreement that they're responsible for the cost of the damage they caused, or,
Yeah. Well, that's what.
something like that, you know?
That's the problem we ran into on 115. You couldn't prove who did the damage because you saw the one guy.
Yeah, so if you-
Polarized because they were sure, and I think it was Foster's.
Oh, yeah.
You know whose key's in there, you know who's been running in there, you go up there, you see the road's damaged. More than likely, you know who the culprit is of the damage to the road.
Do some research on a smart key, you know, even if it's battery operated.
Yeah, I'll do a little bit of research between next Tuesday, but
I wonder if we could make it specific for if you have cattle in there.
No, because, what about Abby that doesn't have cattle and wants to go in there for just after Christmas?
Permitted for summer access only.
I told him that before. I said, I told Rod Gardner the same thing, because he was all over.
Same thing with the ones that are up on Skyline, they're the
Well,
exact same
and
way,
the
people
problem
don't use
I see
them,
with
but
something
they
like
snowmobile
that
in there.
is Dave Chapel will put a cow up in a pan at his things and say, well, I got a cow. I can just see him doing that.
Well, Mark Benyon, remember him?
I don't remember him.
He's the one that gave us that gun, because he came in on a property tax appeal, because he had a trailer there and found something in the law that, because he had cattle there, he called it a cow camp. It shouldn't be taxed on it. You know, we went back and forth, and, you know, he was basically right. You know, after we got done arguing, he says, hey, you guys are, of course I didn't Mark real well. You guys are so nice. I got this Monmouth County Centennial rifle. We ordered 2 of them, the other guy didn't take it, I want to donate it. I said, well, only if we put your name on. He said, no, don't want anybody, no, but I gave that as a gift. So I think if you go look at the name, it says that we didn't honor that wish, but we got the gun.
The only,
Well, I just got some real concerns, because just like the point I made, do you give one to Jess Croft, you know? And of course, I mean, if you give it to every landowner up there, you're gonna have 100 keys. Yeah.
Well, then you go back to a system like Lance is talking about, if it's for specific use, you have to go check out the key for a time period.
Yeah.
If you've got cows in there and are going in to take care of your cows. See, Boyd can get access, just put a gate that opens there by Gary's to get in there instead. He wants to go clear down to the other end. But that's not our responsibility, that's the landowner or the lessee.
And again, I kinda held my tongue, cause I didn't wanna blame you guys, but, just with us in here, I'm a little uncomfortable at your gate location, because you don't have access on the right of way for the snowmobile or the snowcat to go around. It's not right for us to expect that they have access on snowmobile, but to make them go into private land. You see my point?
And that's why when we talked about this, we talked about the opening being 32 feet wide, so that we would have room, hopefully on the outside within that prescriptive right of way, that most of the time they'd still have access. Now, we weren't able to accomplish that all that well at Eagle Pass or Kepps, because the fences are within the right of way. But short of moving those fences to the back of the right of way.
Are Simmons's fences inside our right of way?
So the ones right here,
Uh-huh.
they're probably really, really close, if not encroaching. If you're up there, you can see, there's certainly some room behind the post, but there's not a lot.
I'm thinking of Stan Hawkins, who kept trying to put the fences in the right of way.
It's not quite that close. It's not, except at the one at Eagle Pass on the other side of it, the post is very close to where the fence is. And there was just no other way to get in there without moving the fence.
Picture on your phone that shows it.
Well, this is tough for Judy's, but like she said, that fence has been there for 50 or 60 years.
Yeah.
Well, you can either move the right of way over to where the other fence is, and, but they did do that turnout there for the wind farm, that
They
temporary.
did the turnout, and turnout was supposed to kind of go away every time they're done moving stuff in, but it's now so well established that people cut through here all the time. The sign is out here. That's where the stop sign is, but people cut that turn and claim that they didn't have to stop.
But Judy's, remedy for that is just fencing.
Well, either that or we put up Jersey rails. But then every time the windmill people have to get a turbine, it have to be moved. And if you fence it, every time the windmill people have to get back in there, the fence has to be taken down.
There's the fence, of course, our right of way line probably is.
So there's a fence post like right through here, and that's pretty much right where that post is at. Our post is right close to there.
So that's where the gate is there.
Yes. Let's see, I can. It might be just up, and this is, it might be close to right here, but it's right in through this area. It's past this where people have turned off the road. And there is a bank on the other side.
I don't know what the answer to this is, but I just can't.
What if on the other side, I don't think it'd be a huge job to go back and move the bank back, so there's flat access around there.
So if we're told to do that, you're gonna be a fairly significant amount of room to do that, to flatten it all out, but yeah, if we're told to do that, we could do that. The reason we didn't do that is we figured that a snowmobile would probably be able to get by. A snowcat is, most of the time, it's not gonna tear up that ground too much. If they're up on top of a bank, if there's that much snow, they're not gonna tear up the bank that much.
But you've also got ATVs now that are wider.
Yeah.
TVs with tracks on them. I mean, 60, 70.
Well, that's why, again, the opening, we tried to make the 32-foot opening with the post on the outside of it. We still ended up, we should have some room there that's within the right of way. I tried to plan that in, that there is right of way behind. It may not be wide enough for everybody, but it's certainly wide enough for a snowmobile.
Because the only thing that Andy's gonna be happy with is he can drive his Suburban back into his farm,
Well,
you know.
For summer use.
I'm personally willing to take on those criticisms and those. For a guy that's got cattle up there, that's where I kind of draw the line. He's got to have access. And he can't be running the road and bridge every day to go get a key, to then go up, to go in and break the ice on a water trough. He's got to be able to go in there every day, you know, without.
Well, let's run it by Scott and see, you know, because it took a little bit of engineering to come up with an agreement to kind of split the baby up in Cornwall. And the reality of it is, when you talk to these guys, if they let a key out and get sued, we're still gonna get sued. Same with the mailboxes. You know, if it's in the right of way, even though they've got a permit, it just gives somebody weak.
And there's very few up in Camorra that actually did sign those waivers. And most of the ones in the years past have never signed waivers on that. They still have brick mailboxes out in the right of way.
That they're putting up.
Oh yeah, there's hundreds of them out there.
I mean, they're still doing it illegally.
Oh yeah, hundreds of them.
And because of planning and zoning issue. Our
Well,
letter permit.
we give them a flyer with every permit that we issue that tells them where their mailbox placement has to be. But, yeah, we'll just have to put in something in the ordinance that we got a permit.
Well, let's just get Scott's.
Brick mailboxes.
Yeah.
technically it's a structure, probably complies, at least needs a zoning permit for location. I don't know why we haven't done that, honestly.
Well, let's do it.
That's the way to fix that. Require a permit for a mailbox, charge them an $80 fee and go up there and make sure that's out of the right of way.
Probably need you guys here for the discussion next Tuesday, if you're gonna be here. Are you here Tuesday?
I'm here Tuesday,
That's
but not
thinking
Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm gonna be gone. And we better get Sam down here.
We have heard from several of his deputies that this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, I did
And
appreciate Sam throwing
Well,
us.
but it's what he said, hey, this gate is a good thing. You know, I mean, we support the gate, it's just the situations, when the landowners are trying to get in there, and that's what we're trying to find is a solution to let landowners, get in if we don't have an access around there. That's why I'm wondering if it wouldn't be easier to, just go carve out that bank.
It would be easier to carve out the bank, but I'm still not sure it's gonna be wide enough for the snowcat all the way. There's some of those snowcats that are 10 feet wide, which is probably beyond.
But that's a situation where you may give, them a key with the agreement.
Yeah,
Because he was,
you
you
could
could
do
do
it
a
just-
jump, well, then I gotta get a semi in there, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw how quick that went.
Yeah.
The
We're
snowcat.
not opening that road up.
But that's what, if they have a key, they'll try to do it.
Well, but then they sign the deal, they could lose the key.
Yeah, they can't open the road up.
They will.
It's dry.
There was one other thing briefly that I just wanted to talk about and maybe decide what we want to do on these. So we have some cases, and I talked to Brad Pickett yesterday. I know he's talked to you about Taylor Meadows. So we have some cases where people have come in and applied to do ag density plats, and they only have, some of them have 6 or 7 division rights, and they want to utilize those to do a plat, but then we're still requiring them basically to do all the road improvements,
Arterial road improvements.
arterial road improvements.
If it's adjacent to the arterial roads, like 25th East, which Taylor Meadows is right on 25th East, I don't have a way to not put that as far as part of the development is they have to do some of those arterial road improvements.
Which I understand that side of it. My concern with it is, and we've had this happen out south of town with a similar thing. Guy had, I think, 8 division rights. He was gonna do a plat, found out what he had to do on the arterial improvements, so then he scraps the plat and uses his division rights in 10-acre tracts. And we get 7 accesses along that road with nothing done.
Which is also a problem, absolutely.
So this is just kind of to bring up as a brainstorming. I don't know if there's a way that we can do something with these ag density plats that we put in the development agreement. Okay, if you're just utilizing your division rights, we're not gonna require you to do the arterial improvements, but any development over and above the utilization of division rights will trigger arterial improvements. Meaning that, like in the case of Taylor Meadows, he's got all that ground in the back that will probably eventually be rezoned and developed. So at such time that that happens, then that would trigger him doing all of those arterial road improvements. To me, it's just, we're creating a problem by telling people, this is what you have to do if you want to plat your division rights. We're eating up more agricultural ground. And really then when we give them all these requirements, they say, no, we're not gonna do this, and we're making the problem worse, because then we're adding 7 accesses to 25th instead of 1.
I said, with specifically him, I was willing to not require curb and gutter today, as long as it was in the development agreement that there was a time
Brad, he'll be in there wanting to, run that thing right through and make subdivision.
Yeah.
Plan.
No, and that's why I'm saying, I think you still have to have something in place, but I just think that, in the case of Brad, at least what he says, okay, so if I put the curb and gutter in, that's an extra $300,000 expense that then I'm trying to make up with only being able to plat 7 lots.
But he's still
So-
developing ground. And that's.
Right,
that's
but
the
even
problem
if
we don't have.
even if he doesn't file a plat, he's still gonna develop those 7 lots and put 7 accesses there, which is gonna put 7 more people on 25th East, and we're accomplishing nothing. So my point is, if we could find a way on these ag plats to say, okay, we're still gonna require you to do something, or get them locked in to do something, but not make them do it right at the beginning, we're more likely to get these people to do ag plats, which preserves agricultural ground.
I'm
And
not sure it preserves agricultural ground. And the reason I say that, he's got 6 lots out there, they're not gonna be used for ag ground, they're gonna be used for large homes with a lot of grass around it. That's not ag to me.
but instead of using 80 acres of the farm to put 10-acre tracts on each one, you're using half that amount of ground to put the homes there and still saving the back 30 or 40 acres for farm purposes. But my bigger concern is, we're not doing ourselves any favors by requiring all of this and having people back out and put 7 accesses on the 25th. That's making the problem worse. So we need to find a middle ground that, hey, if you're doing an ag plat, because all that they're allowed to do is still use their same number of division rights that they could use with individual driveways, I think we've gotta come up with something
Well,
different.
and that's why I was willing to say, okay, we can not have you put in the curb and gutter right now, not worry about the stormwater system, not worry about the landscape berm behind the road, we'll do the swells. That'll save a bunch of money, but we still get the right of way dedicated, and we still get some of the asphalt for when 25th East is widened.
Right, but if you put that in the development agreement that he has to do that when 25th East is widened, or him or anybody, their point is gonna be, well, if I don't do the plat, and I come in and plat my 7 lots with the access, I'm not gonna have to participate in that, the county will have to get the ground from me and do it. And so, that's what I'm saying, I
We
just,
don't see that many ag density plants, we really haven't, have we?
we have a lot in the county, we don't see them super frequently, but I bet we do 1 or 2 a year,
Along arterial roads?
yeah.
Well, there's one on 81st North.
And we had one out south that they were gonna do one and preserve a whole bunch of the ag ground, and they were clustering all their lots up in the corner, they were building a road in, they're
Well,
gonna
if they're
dedicate the right
clustering,
away.
that's a different thing, right, though, isn't it?
But then they realize, oh, well, I've gotta put in all these improvements, and they back out because they can go sell those 7 lots on 10 acres each and make more money because they don't have to do any of that, which I understand. I just think the way that that works and is written, it doesn't accomplish what it was meant to accomplish, which is limiting the accesses onto the arterial and not having these 10-acre chunks that take up 80 acres and really are ruining future development.
Well, especially if they're 100 feet wide and 800 foot
Which,
deep.
that's exactly what Brad's gonna look like if he does that.
If he does it, yeah.
And then you've got 7 accesses along 25th, I don't know. So I don't know what the solution is, I don't know if it was, we could work something out in the development agreements of any development above your prescribed division rights that you would be able to utilize with your road frontage that you have will trigger arterial improvements. I think there's a way we could do it, but.
And then not let them transfer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we would basically just, well, they could still transfer them, but you basically just have to write it so that it was allocated to whatever they were allocated originally, if that's all they were utilizing, and they could have utilized it on the county road anyways.
Does Brad own the property behind it? So you could.
See, and that's where I was talking, when Brad brought it up
By
yesterday,
the post pit.
I said, well, right now you're utilizing your division rights, so I see your point, but when you go to develop that back property, you're gonna have to do all of that. And he's like, well, yeah, I understand that.
Well, what he told me is he's likely to put his house on that back end and never develop it.
Yeah, and he
Well,
may.
you know, it's only a matter of time before he.
Take the source on that one.
Yeah, but anyways, I just wanted to bring it up to think about it, because I think that there is some good we could do if we could figure out a compromise on those ag plats, and I think we would get more people to
What if you
do
got
it.
them to dedicate the right of way and then have it, you know, cause and have them build it to a standard, to go through, cause the plat would show it going through, so we don't end up with 12th or 9th West.
Yeah,
You know, have them build the main road, to a standard, that if it does go through with that understanding, and then whoever develops the back part be the same as we're requiring everybody else.
So that's essentially what I told him is, so I won't require you to put in curb and gutter and all the stormwater stuff with this right now, but I need something in the development agreement that says later on when 25th East is widened out.
Well, what if you make that a responsibility of the builder behind, like we're trying to do with Rockwell?
Oh, the builder behind is Brad.
I know, but he could sell it to another builder.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna look into some things, I just wanted to bring it up, cause even Brad told me, he's like, I don't even have a problem widening 25th and putting in acceleration and deceleration lanes. He's just said that what killed him is if he has to put in that stormwater piping, it's gonna be like $300,000. Right, but he doesn't want it in his development agreement that he has to do it regardless if he doesn't develop the back portion. He said he was okay if it was in the development agreement, that when he developed the back portion, or whoever did, would be responsible for that.
Well, and putting it back in there like that, I mean, if we put it in there that if this lot or if this connectivity to the land further east or north or south or whatever, and we put that as a special condition in there, that says if this goes anywhere else, then at that point, that developer is responsible for all the stuff. I'm okay with that.
Okay, that's what
Yeah,
I'm suggesting.
I think that's what we should do, and I think that we
But
could,
get the
yeah.
easement, otherwise we end up with a situation.
Well, we'll get the right of way, and we'll get the widening of the asphalt to be able to be striped as a lane and stuff in and out. We'll still get the asphalt.
How much asphalt?
Well, it's essentially 14 foot of asphalt along the width of there. It'll be 14 foot of new asphalt.
for acceleration and deceleration, and Brad told me yesterday, he said, I see the point for that, I'm fine with that, he just was having a hard time with the curb and gutter and the drainage, and
Yeah, I mean, that's just get it so that, you know, he could sell it to another developer, but it would be subject to the conditions or that. And then the new developer picks up that responsibility to widen that road.
Well, to finish off the widening of it.
Right.
And I think that's a good way we could handle a lot of these, and my thinking is
Does that include if he tries to put a single home on that unplatted land?
I think so, yeah.
Any
Any development, I think that's how you catch him, he'll come in and fight it, but we'll say, no, that's what we agreed to, Brad.
Okay.
But I think on these ag plats, and
He won't put a single home.
no, the reason that I've hesitated doing anything or changing anything in the ordinance is because you kind of have to look at them case by case, because you get a lazy eight, for example, that they have 30 lots and they want to put 30 lots in. Well, they need sewer and water and the road, and they need to do all that stuff to begin with, they're having a bigger impact. But for somebody who has 5 or 6, I think that's where we can be a little more flexible and say, hey, yeah, if you do this, we'll let you develop it.
Yeah.
We won't trigger it until you get more lots that are gonna have a greater
Well,
impact.
see, 'cause I've always had a problem with these 10-acre long, 100-foot wide, and we've talked about that.
It doesn't accomplish anything.
Well, especially now when we're, kind of restricting, growth like Beach Corner and stuff. You know, if there was a way to kind of fill those in without opening up everybody in the county with a shared driveway. You know, I don't know if you found a solution.
Yeah, and
to
I've
that.
still been looking at that, and I think that's part of the same thing, you have to kind of, I don't know, you've gotta find a way that you're not blanketing it,
Right.
cause then you're doubling the density. And that's the same thing with these ag plats, so I don't wanna go out and make a blanket statement, as long as you're using your division rights, you don't have to do this, because then somebody will have 60 division rights and come in and try to pull that over us, you know, so you gotta kinda.
And cluster them all in one corner and the rest of
So
it.
you gotta kind of, and luckily, the state statute helps a little bit with that, with fire and stuff too, but you gotta kind of pick your battles on what ones of, okay, are we really gonna push this, and what, okay, is the impact to the county gonna be greater if they do these 10-acre lots than if we are a little more flexible on the road development in their development agreement.
And I just, with Brad in particular, and development along 25th East. 25th East is being scrutinized hard.
Already,
It's like
yeah.
25th East is going to be a 5-lane arterial road. I just don't know when, but it will. And I don't want to get into a situation that we have 7 accesses on there either. But I also don't want to
Let him in with office, he'll be here 25 years, so he's able to try it.
No.
Okay, no, that's why I think that just doing it in the development agreement is a good middle ground for that.
I'm doing that